Welcome into the 90 plus 2 podcast. Sammy St.Jean, Jeremy Serrano. Gonna apologize in advance. Have a sore throat, got cough drops going. So if you can't understand me at times, just apologizing in advance. I'll try to mute for all the coughing, etc. But we didn't want to miss an episode, trying to power through. Jeremy, I hope you're feeling better than I am.
I well, uh, in
Except for
terms
about
of
United.
yeah, in terms of like results, no. Health wise, yeah, I'm okay. Thank you for asking. I mean, I think you're probably maybe a couple decibels too high on that Joel Matip bone goal. I don't know about you, but it's a big
Might
result
be
for the
part of it.
boys.
Might be part
That's
of it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, quite the weekend. A lot to talk about, particularly in the Prem. I do want to go out on a limb. We're going to be posting the graphic the night before you see this about how we did over the weekend. Just fade our picks, honestly. You'll make a lot of money. If you ever wanted like guaranteed money, just pick the
God,
opposite that Jeremy
that
and I recommend.
that that Brighton Villa game, I look
There
like
was
a
nothing we could
complete
like. What are we doing?
yeah. I'm a dum dum. I'm a dum dum.
Also, Manchester United, like after how they played midweek, how are you going to predict that? I know also we made our predictions and then all of a sudden we have no Licha Martinez.
Mm,
Like just
yeah.
very tough things going against us for these picks. No one's predicting a Man City loss, even though that wasn't on our list. Um, I didn't think Madison was going to play, so I didn't expect Spurs to come out on top, let alone have two red cards in that game. I was feeling very confident in this in the draw. Yeah, make that as a fun fact. Now the second leading goal scorer in the Prem behind Holland.
Yeah, number
Um,
two, sole number two spot.
embracing that number 9 role. It was also well, hang on, I'll save that. I'll save
Mhm.
that. But screw it. Let's just jump into it. I do want to actually not start with Tottenham because although that game is the most
What do you want
controversial,
to start with, Sammy?
I want to start with Luton Town. Luton
Wow,
Town 2-1
bring up
over
the habits.
Everton. Their first Premier League win. Tom Lockyer and Carlton Morris, the two goal scorers in the historic game for them. Calvert Lewin made a honest effort in the second half. But again, the first win for Luton Town. And if the season were to end after just 7 matches, they would be staying up. So obviously a stretch, but they finally get that first win. They now sit at 4 points, which is above Bournemouth, Burnley, and Sheffield. And that puts them actually even with Everton, who I was starting to have some belief in. They were playing scrappy. They were playing well under Sean Dyche, and then this result really puts a damper on that. Jeremy, give me your thoughts on Luton Town. I know you were really excited about their promotion as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a stadium like Kenilworth Road that sits about, which I don't think anyone has, it's not open yet, right? Like it's not ready for Premier League play. Like they're playing all road games right now. Is that correct?
Dude, I do not know off the top of my head, but I think you're right.
Yeah, like they have to renovate it to fit like a bigger crowd. So
I'm pretty sure you're right.
they're playing all of their games on the road, and then like towards I guess everything after Christmas, they're all going to be at home. So they're going to have home games in a row, in a row, in a row, which could benefit them long term. But what do you got?
They have a home game. They played Wolves at home.
Okay,
One
but I
one
know from the
draw.
beginning of the year they had to like renovate,
That's
like their
true. I know
stadium
that
wasn't
was true.
ready.
I just didn't know what the timeline was.
But this was at Goodison Park, so this is a big result for them on the road. This goes to show you that possession is a myth in football. 68-32 in terms of in favor of Everton, excuse me. Um, two early goals. I think what's so important for teams like a Luton Town, like a Sheffield, if you can get that first goal is ever important. If you can get that first goal, that sets the tone for your match because then and only then will you say like, okay, we beat ourselves if we give up like, two or three more after that and lose 3-1. But they scored the first goal, then got a second goal right after and went up 2-0. And I remember watching this because I was focusing on another match at the time, unfortunately. But I remember watching the ticker. You know how NBC has the ticker if you guys watch on NBC Sports or not on NBC Sports. Wow, excuse me. I'm predating myself. USA Network or Peacock. Subscribe. Um, in the top right corner, you get to see the ticker of all the matches that are going on and then the past matches that have happened. And as I was watching United Palace, I kept looking at that ticker and I saw the Wolves Man City score. And I was like, okay, this is alarming. But then I saw Luton Town Everton, and I'm like, 1-0 Luton Town. I went, okay. Then I saw 2-0 Luton Town, and I went, all right, like this is it. The Hatters are gonna get it. And then DCL gets a goal, makes it 2-1. And then I kind of was like looking at my phone, like, okay,
And that was right
what's
before
gonna
the half, I
happen?
believe,
That
too.
was yeah, it was a 41st minute. So it was a couple minutes before halftime, but then just a defensive masterclass from the Hatters. They keep Everton off the board. They get their first ever Premier League win, as you said, Sammy. And I love stories like this for the Prem because now we just get to see who's going to be the next team that steps up. Sure, I expect a team like Norwich to get back here eventually. Norwich has been a Premier League regular for years now. But, a team like Ipswich, who hasn't really been in the Prem, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's been a long time since Ipswich has been in the top flight of English football. So it just goes to show you anything can happen in sports. It really can. I didn't think the Jets were going to lose by 3. I thought they were going to lose by 33. You know what I mean? So you got to play the game. You got to play all 90 minutes. If you're playing hockey, you got to play all 60 minutes. If you're playing football, you got to play all 60 minutes. So congrats to Luton Town. Big result for them. They're going to remember this one for a very, very long time.
No, absolutely. And this is a day they'll never forget, especially the fans of that club for sure. Um, all right. You alluded to City, so we'll go there next, and then we'll talk Tottenham, Liverpool. City 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2. Weird scoring too.
Yeah.
You got Ruben Dias with the own goal, Julian Alvarez, who's cooking. I
Oh my
loved you
God. Love
watching
him.
him play. And then Wang Hee Chan with the winner, the guy that
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Pep
The,
couldn't remember his name,
the Korean guy. The
the
Korean guy.
Korean guy. Um, dude, that is sports. That is the epitome of sports. The day before the match, Pep forgets your name, the Korean guy, and he's the one that scores the winner. That it just makes too much sense. That's sports. That's why we love it. That's just the epitome of it.
Mm.
And I think if this game highlighted anything, it's one, Erling Haaland struggling to find the back of the net.
Yeah. But he's still leading the league in goals, though. So,
Sonny second though,
yeah.
not for long. I got faith in my boy. Um, the other, which think is more important, is although they have a lot of depth, Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri are so important, and I
Oh,
think Rodri was underappreciated. I think in the casual eyes until maybe this performance, because he did play over the midweek, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head, but him first match in the Prem that he's not involved in, you kind of their defensive prowess just isn't the same.
mm-hmm.
This is a City team you expect to have clean sheets, yet Wolverhampton, of all squads, not a team that's playing particularly well, comes in and does very well. And I think City now have some concern going into the Champions League, not necessarily because the ban for Rodri doesn't carry over or anything like that to the Champions League, but just in terms of like confidence, continuity, and just playing with a consistent squad. Because although Pep does like to rotate a lot, and that's why they're always so good, is because they have so much depth, they can kind of plug and replace. There are certain players that you just kind of have to have. And I think Rodri being a mainstay in that lineup is one of them.
I agree with you 110%. As someone who played like at the high school level, I consider the high school level as like the first of like, somewhat content soccer, competitive wise. I've always said that the center mid, especially in high school, your best player should be your center mid. Whether that's if you're playing a 4-4-2, a 4-3-3, your center mid is your quarterback. It's kind of like the Jets being without Aaron Rodgers to an extent. I think the depth, is a little bit better, for Man City's sake in the footballing world. But when you have not one but two of your, prime center mids, one being more defensive minded than the other, obviously
Now,
in
you
Rodri.
might disagree with me here, but I would argue those are two of the top 10 midfielders in the world.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree.
You
I
could
think
even say five, but I think 10's more fair because there's a
yeah,
lot of guys I'm
like
probably forgetting of right now.
no. I get it. This is the equivalent of Man U being without both Bruno and Casemiro. This is alarming. And sure, their attack is fine. Alvarez and Holland and people that can fill in and score goals all the time, but your game starts in the midfield. It really does. It's how you set the tone. right? Like you, Sammy, have been begging for James Madison for about a year since I've known you. You wanted someone like James Madison. Hey, you got him, and look where you guys are right now.
Well, the
Playing,
people who listen to this podcast from day one probably heard me begging for him or James Ward-Prowse for the
yeah,
entirety until I got one of them.
and look what he's doing at West Ham. Like even West Ham
Exactly.
is doing fine, right? So this
Exactly.
just
Creative
proves
midfielders.
our point is that like just midfielders are the most or at least my point. You'll agree with me if you do or not. Center mids are the most important position, and when you're without your two best, arguably two of your best players apart from Erling Haaland, it's no matter how good or how bad you are, it's gonna look, it's gonna affect you, and you lose to a team that I think full strength. I think Man City can easily take Wolves. But the Molineux was rocking in that game. Now, again, that was during the Man City window. So that morning alone, Saturday morning alone was wild. Was an insane window at 10 a.m. And I'm sure we're gonna get into the next one. That'll probably be is that the next topic of discussion?
I want to do Spurs just before we
Okay,
get too
okay.
far away because that was the
Yeah.
game of the weekend going in.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and I think it left with the most controversy. Tottenham 2, Liverpool 1. I had my fellow or your fellow Manchester United fan, Owen Serafino, ask me, Sam, you should feel some shame after that one. And I said, hell no. Um, Tottenham have lost a lot of points in my time and had some disappointing results and ones I felt like they had taken away from them. I know VAR screwed this one for Liverpool, and I know there were 2 red cards, but 3 points is 3 points, and Tottenham are second. So I apologize to no one. I
All
feel
right,
like
Conor
Connor.
McGregor.
That's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. I feel like Conor McGregor. Um, that's just the PG version. So Sonny again into second in the Premier League in terms of goal scoring. The Matip own goal. Gakpo the goal scorer for Liverpool. First, I'm gonna give my opinion. You can obviously respond to what I'm saying, but I want to give my opinions
You go.
on the red cards first. The VAR decision, we already know they messed it up. They admitted to the mess up, and now Liverpool, their club statement was a little over the top. Like, unless they want to replay the whole game, I don't know what Liverpool are trying to do with that statement that their club made about like we're gonna see all potential course of action. Like, unless you're gonna petition for the game to be replayed, which you could have just said in that statement, I don't understand what you're accomplishing by making that statement. You know what I mean? Um, the 2 red cards. The Curtis Jones red card was harsh in my opinion, but by the rule, the endangering the safety of an opponent rule, that was a red. It was clumsy, it was unlucky, but if you're going studs up, legs straight into an ankle area, and Basuma's ankle literally, you can see it bowing out in the tackle. Yes, it was unlucky. No, it wasn't his intention, but it's a red by the rule they've kind of established. As much as I do think that red put a damper on things, I wish it didn't happen. If they had called it red and yellow and stuck with it, I would have been okay with it at the time from watching it. If you're going to be consistent, which they're trying to be, even though the VAR was not, that should be a red. Straight leg, studs up, ankle, endangering opponent. That checks a lot of boxes. The Jota yellows that turned into a red. The first one was harsh. The second one was so stupid on Jota's. If you're playing on a yellow that you got less than 2 minutes ago, why are you making that tackle? Like, why would you do that? It's just so unnecessary on Jota's part. And I do completely agree. He probably shouldn't have got that first one. The first yellow was a bit unnecessary. Probably should have got a warning of some sort, especially because he did just come on. But if you are going to caution for that first one, that second one is completely on you. You can't make a tackle that reckless. Already down a man. That's just awful decision making on his part. And I want to finish by saying I love my club so much. Like, it wasn't pretty. Like, it really wasn't. And I will say, I thought Liverpool came out of this looking fantastic. They might be the best man down team in the history of the Premier League. They had already won 2 games playing with 10 men. And I really thought they were going to win another, this time playing with 9. The fact that they are still as threatening as they were with how they were playing, turning into a 5 in the back, I very much am keeping an eye on Liverpool as a actual title contender because of what they showed they can do. Like, not there was obviously where there was fall off because with 11 men you're going to be better than 10, just numbers. But the fact that they were still able to pressure Tottenham with 10 and realistically did have the lead with that goal that was disallowed, that should have been a goal. Liverpool are scary and they deserve a lot of credit. And it really does stink I do feel for Liverpool, but I'm not going to apologize as a Tottenham fan, if that makes sense. Like, I feel for Liverpool fans. They got screwed. But as a Tottenham fan, with all that you've been through over the past few years, take your 3 points and run. I will say, also, final statement, then I'll hand it back to you. I think this match was a battle between the two best current or most informed goalkeepers in the Prem right now. Becker won, and Allison won, and Vicario too. Because the way he's played, Tottenham should be, I don't know, 8th if we have Lloris. Honestly, we have Lloris, might be maybe 13th or 14th. But the difference that man has made for Tottenham is, maybe I'm just overstating it because I have watched every single minute of Tottenham football, but I sincerely think he is a top 2 or 3 goalkeeper in current form right now in the Premier League. Allison, though, he's won one. He's so good. Go ahead.
Allison is amazing. I think he's my number 1 keeper. I thought he was my number 1 keeper last year too, in the Prem. I agree with you, everything what you said about Jota's challenges. I think the first one, yeah, kind of harsh, but then just when you play on a yellow card, your mentality has to change, unfortunately. Even though it is a big game, you are fighting for 3 points. You have to be very, 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 very careful, because one time you just stick your boot out and you clip somebody, a ref can catch it and then just be like, all right, you're gone. So playing on a yellow, for someone who has played on yellows, like, very rarely. I was a real disciplined player when I was playing. I was a nice guy. I wasn't really, but there were a couple times where I've
Not
gotten
Brexit,
yellow.
Jeremy.
Huh?
Not Brexit, Jeremy.
No, God, no. I'm not a Roy Kent or anything like that. But there were times where I've gotten like a yellow for, like, I don't know, dissent or arguing a call, whatever. Had a little bit of a temper in high school. Still kind of do, just during hockey season. The Curtis Jones zone at the time was like, oh man, I really thought that this shouldn't have been a red. But in hearing your explanation and then looking at the rules that follow, there is I don't want to call it a loophole, but it's just a proper, explanation. Yeah. It just had to be a red. It was, again, a silly challenge, and just it looked kind of like, are you sure? And like you saw it right away, like when Jones is just like, no, like just and then they look at it and then give him the red. Yeah. That turns that what's the saying? What's Michael Scott? How the turntables, right?
What turntables have.
Yeah. That did it. And yeah, congrats to you. You shouldn't have to apologize, like, because you're in a situation right now where I've been as a Man U fan, where we've been called Penchester United, right? Like, there were so many times when Ronaldo was playing for us, and we would get a late penalty, either him or Bruno would put it away and we'd win off of a penalty, right? And
Better like, the tap-in merchants, all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Because I got that with Harry Kane too.
Yeah, Varchester, whatever. You don't need to apologize, but again, take them and run, because now you're gonna have that on your back of like, oh, like you squeaked that one out against Liverpool. Here's what can you do against the City or who haven't
clubs? We've already done it against a lot of those clubs.
Yeah, so I would just take and go with it.
Exactly.
Congratulations that's a big win for you guys, and yeah, you're really solidifying your spot. I know it's early in the season, but man, it's as a Man U fan, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Shout out to ACDC in the back.
Well, also think about it. 2 weeks ago, going into the Arsenal and this match, I said I wanted, if we could get 4 points from Liverpool and Arsenal, I'm buzzing.
Here we are. 4.
And now Tottenham goes into an overall fairly favorable stretch of 3 games against Luton Town, Fulham, and Palace. They do have Chelsea and then Wolves. Like, Chelsea's never, like, although Chelsea isn't great on the table in their general form, they won today, but they're never an easy game. But like 4 out of 5 of those games, you should win if you're Tottenham. and they do have a very tough stretch of Villa, City, West Ham, and Newcastle after that. But we'll worry about that when we get to it. I think Tottenham should be very high in where they are and do their best over the next 3 matches to get 9 points.
I agree.
All right, move forward. All right, somber tone here. Palace 1, Man U 0. Anderson with a 25th minute goal for Palace. United notably did have 78% possession, although not a possessing team this year, and had 19 shots, but a measly 4 on goal. Jeremy, if you must vent, go ahead.
I don't know
Or
what to
cry,
do.
also an option.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not a pansy yet. Um,
And a good cry helps every now and then,
yeah, but
Maybe it's not. Yeah.
I'm just like I'm not sad. I'm frustrated more than anything. Like the first 20 minutes, I was like, wow, they are moving, they are buzzing. Again, doing everything but scoring, getting everybody involved. I've been so impressed with the play of Facundo Pellistri on the right side, filling in for everything going on with Anthony. Can report Anthony is back in training, so his name's been cleared. So I'm really excited to see Anthony come back into this lineup. Hopefully, he plays to some extent tomorrow against Galatasaray, which we'll get into later. Um, the goal from Anderson was such a cracker of a hit. You really can't do anything about it. Like if it's one thing, like if they score like a tap in, or like if Onana has like another howler like he did against Bayern, like just lets it through. This goal was just a perfectly placed shot above Onana. He really can't do anything about it. Not many keepers do anything about that shot. That makes it 1-0. The part that bugged me was I was just saying the entire time I go, they're getting one back. They are getting one back. They are playing perfectly. There were a couple chances for Casemiro. Garnacho had a chance in the second half when he came on. Like I love Garnacho as a super sub. I really do. But I do think like he had a chance where he tried to pull one back to Hoyland, but it like deflected off 2 people and went out. Like I'm like, even if it's an own goal, can we just scrape for a point? Can we just scrape for one? And alas, it didn't happen. Um, the one I don't have a lot of negatives because I thought they played well, but the one negative is scoring. It's offensive production. Can we get somebody who can score and who can put shots on net that isn't our CDM? I feel like Casemiro is one of our, it shouldn't be, but he's one of our top attacking threats. He has a great long shot, and on set pieces, he's very effective when it comes to a header. Him, Varane, really good in the air. And I want to see Hoyland get more implemented in the air, like off of set pieces as well, because I think he's really strong. I think he's a really strong player and will give center backs a hard time. What's going on with Marcus Rashford? That is a mystery. He's turning into Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world is Marcus Rashford? Because it sure isn't on the pitch. He's been knocked down so many times. I don't know if he's hurt, fatigued. I'm sure he's tired, but aren't they all? Like I feel like everyone's tired. Um, it's so draining just to see your number 10 just kind of like, I don't want to say he gave up on Saturday, but he just looked deflated. And to me, there's not a lot of players that play with passion for Man United right now. You have one out in Martinez, who's just such an important part of this team that we're going to be missing for a very, very long time.
And it sticks
But
Varane just came back too to pair with him.
yeah, and now his workload is going to be heavy with Victor Lindelof, and then your third and fourth center backs are now Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. So they're going to have to play. They're going to have to be playing against Newcastle in the Carabao. One of the two of them may or may not play tomorrow against Galatasaray. There's just question. The question is center back depth and attacking. Scoring. Where's your scoring going to come from? I was impressed with Garnacho. Again, like he's just one of those players where I just think he's so much more effective playing the final 30 minutes rather than the first 60, if that makes any sense. Like when he comes in, people are tired, people are, they're exhausted. They're playing for an hour plus, a break. But when he comes on, it is just lightning. He's so quick. He's so confident on the ball. Yeah, the only time where what there was one game where I looked at him and I was like, God, you're just not playing well. It might have been Tottenham, but it was either Tottenham or no, I think it was Arsenal. I wasn't impressed with Garnacho, but the two wingers are really kind of just trying to find a place on this lineup, and they're doing such a great job. Tomorrow we get Kobe Manu back, which is awesome. He's at training now, so he might be a super sub. Like he'll take some minutes off of Casemiro's plate for a little bit. It is frustrating because our form is just not great. You see all those X's and not enough green check marks next to your name, and it's just like it's just not the standard. It's not who we are as a football club. We're playing like a team that we shouldn't be playing. And again, there's so much drama. There's so much with Sancho, with the Glazers. It's so distracting. I think the players try to do a great job of, limiting that noise. And I think Bruno is a really big part of that. So again, you have to just reset. I said it against Crystal Palace in the League Cup. I go, okay, let's build on it. Well, you fell, you lost, you didn't even draw. So now let's build on it now. It starts with Galatasaray. You want to continue playing Champions League football, you're going to have to get a win here because luckily this one's at Old Trafford tomorrow. If this game were in Turkey, I think it'd be a long flight. Long flight.
I just have a few quick comments. One, I think doing whatever you can to get Reguilon and Shaw back and just kind of fighting through the time until that happens. Because you need a left back so Amrabat can actually play a position he wants to play or knows how to play better in the midfield. Yes, he's served well at left back, but that's not his position.
I think he's going to play left. I think he's playing left back tomorrow because Reguilon wasn't in training today.
Yeah, but that's kind of my point is you got to just find a way to power through until you get your left backs back. Then you can play Amrabat and possibly Casemiro together in that midfield defensively. I just don't like a 4-2-3-1 personally. For you guys, I don't like the 4-2-3.
No,
I would rather just straight 4-3-3.
Yes.
Yes. And then you're getting Antony back, so you don't have to start Pellistri, he's not a starter.
No, he'll come on as a sub.
He's a fine sub. He's just not a starter.
Not yet. But he will be.
Jadon Sancho and Ten Hag both need to just not be stubborn and just shake hands, kiss, hug, do whatever the hell you got to do and find a way to get some depth on the wing because you need it. At a certain point, and I understand you said that you don't think Sancho's going to play. I understand Ten Hag's kind of a little bit of an old school manager, the way he's kind of handling the situation. I don't think he's wrong for it necessarily. But at a certain point, both Sancho and Ten Hag kind of just have to, there's got to be some type of meeting of the minds at some point.
Well, you're saying the key word. It's both. Like one person can't just be like, all right, oh no. Like I blame it more on the player than I do the manager.
I agree.
Yeah, but again, I get what you're saying. Like, I think at some point you're gonna have to be like,
for a resolution,
right?
For a resolution, you need both parties
because you can't sell him until January, right? Like, you can't. He's gonna be on this team. He's gonna be a name on the roster, and he's taking up a spot. So okay, all right. So it's either one or two things. Number one, you don't play him until January, and then you sell him January on New Year's Day. You just sell him wherever. Like, get an agreement with a club now. And then he goes to that club January 1st, or you sit down with him and you're like, okay, what can we do? Do you need help? Like, do you need anything? Like, is it psych? Is it, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm not in that team room. I would love to have him. I would. Like, we need as much help as we can. Luckily, Anthony's back. But again, like, knock on wood, like if he goes down, all right, that's another heavy workload for a kid. For Fasunda.
100%. The last thing I wanted to say, and then we got to speed through the rest of this because this is gonna be a long episode already. I can already tell. Thoughts on a 4-2-2 for United, putting Rashford back towards striker with Højlund, Fernandez and Mount both playing that kind of cam on the outside, and then Casemiro and Amrabat in the defensive midfielder kind of role when they get a left back. Just in terms of the players that are playing well for United.
Yeah.
That is the only way I can think of it. Because I just think Mount needs to be in a position to play an
Mount
attack.
needs to
He just
Mount
needs
needs to
them.
just
He's
wake up.
asked to wake up, but he's being asked to play too much defense for what his skill set is. And
Yeah,
I think he is too close to a similar skill set to Bruno. Obviously, not nearly as good, but similar to what Bruno can do
yeah.
well.
They're
That he's being
types.
asked to play too much defense in the current position he's playing. And there has to be some type of change to give him a better chance to succeed. That's kind of what I'm saying. There
Yeah,
needs to
he's
be a formational
yeah.
adjustment so he can play more attacking.
I know he's coming off of an injury, but like him during the game at Crystal Palace, I was just kind of frustrated with his some of his decision making was a little, nah, on the fence. Again, we're asking a player who just came back from injury to do a lot more than is expected. Um, Especially because I think to me, I think our best midfield three could be Amrabat, Casemiro, Bruno. Again, like I kind of like that 4-2-2 formation. I just think like when Man U's on, some of their best plays are just down
From the
that wing.
wingers. Yeah.
And like
And I think
like
Rashford is a better winger, but I'm just trying to find a. There's got to be a way to get the players that give you the best chance to succeed on the field.
you want to know the
Rather,
best way? You want to know the best way?
maybe Bruno or Mount at the wing too.
No, sell the damn club. How about that? That's the best way to figure out all these scenarios when it comes down to that. But
But that I understand that fixes some, but like I feel like this United
what
team right now doesn't.
it's gonna be the same thing from this club. This club is too one dimensional. They don't give me anything. They don't give me any flair. They don't give me anything to like look forward to. Like your brand of football, your team is exciting. You look forward to it every day. I dread watching this team every day because I'm like, all right, maybe they'll surprise me and we'll get a draw at Luton Town, or oh, we're playing Sheffield. Maybe we'll win. You guys, like you contend with every team. And I want to see you play Man City. That'll be a hell of a game. I don't know when the first day is. It later in the year or
It,
like Christmas time?
it comes up kind of closer towards like late November, Christmas. I don't
Okay.
know it off the top of my head, but
With us, it's like, oh, like we might lose to Wolves. We might lose to insert team name here. Like there's just yeah, part of it's bad luck with Leacha. I love Leacha, but you can't blame all this on one center back being out. You got to have those guys. And sure, Johnny Evans played a hell of a game against Crystal Palace, but I don't think Harry Maguire plays that game. I don't think Victor Lindelof is the player that we had 5 years ago. They can say, oh man, Iceman, really, Iceman this, Iceman that. And he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's what is he, 30? So I don't know. They gotta do something. They gotta change it.
I agree. I just the last thing, and then we really have to get going. I just feel like United don't have an identity, and that's what they need to find.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just the
lost.
play there. That's I think the most concerning thing for me because like they can power through some injuries, you can understand all that. They're just not the same team game to game. You got to have an identity, a way to play, and there needs to be some type of direction. You know what I mean? But all right,
Exactly.
we'll leave it there. All right, so we'll be pretty quick on the rest of the Prem stuff here. I'll rattle off the rest of the results. You talk to me about what stood out to you, Jer. Obviously, I'm going to assume it's going to be this first one here. Villa 6, Brighton 1. Ollie Watkins hat trick. Leading the way, Ansu Fati does get a goal for Brighton, though. Newcastle 2, Burnley 0. Arsenal 4, Bournemouth nothing. Saka, Odegaard, Havertz, White, the scorers. Havertz finally getting a contribution. West Ham 2-0 over Sheffield. Sheffield did compete though, 16 shots in that one, 47% possession there for Sheffield. Nottingham Forest, Brentford 1-1. Matt Turner feeling that they could have gotten all 3 points. And Chelsea 2 over Fulham today. Mudryk gets his first goal. Broha finally, since his ACL injury, gets his first goal following that for Chelsea. Jeremy, take it away.
Yeah, man. Again, please fade all of our picks. If you took my pick for Brighton Villa, you are a dummy like myself. Um,
Should
Look,
be a lot of red on the graphic.
yeah, oh my god. I love Ollie Watkins. I've always been a big fan of his, and he was on my fantasy Premier League team last year when we were playing in the same league, and I was so high on him, and he had a real like slow start. This is what I expect from Ollie Watkins. I don't know if he's going to be doing, this, every single game, probably not, but um big result for the Villains. I thought this was this will be a result that they'll remember for a long time, especially if they stay in contention for any type of European spot. And God, congrats to Mudryk. Finally, like my goodness, I'm sure Chelsea fans are holding their breath for that one. But yeah, and I believe when did he change his number to 10? Beginning of this season?
Do not know that. I do not pay
Yeah.
attention to
I
Chelsea
didn't even
quite
know
that
he was number
much.
10 until he scored. So there you go.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, credit to them. And Thomas Partey is actually joining training for Arsenal. Wanted to note that. And I do want to just say, like, getting Havertz, that pen was really good for him, his confidence, and does show kind of the mentality of that squad. They are a pretty together squad, as much as the other side of North London does hate to see that. Last comment was for Burnley. Although they lost 2-0, had that been any other bottom of the table team that's not as scrappy, not as, tough as Burnley, that could have been a much worse game. So I do want to give Burnley kind of credit for their fight, their ability to keep possession at times. All right, let's head over to Spain. Barca 1, Sevilla 0. Sergio Ramos own goal, the decider. Fun stat from this one. When Yamal, the youngster for Barca, was born, Sergio Ramos had already played over 100 matches in La Liga and won a title with Madrid. Just thought that was fun. Sevilla, they did come to play, and they were close on shots and possessions, so give them some credit there. It's tough that Ramos' own goal decided it, but that was big for Barca, big result for them. Real Madrid 3, Girona 0. Girona didn't deserve to lose by this, but sometimes the quality of Real Madrid shows, and Bellingham scoring again shows it. Tchouameni and Joe Solu were the others to score. Last comment there, Nacho, a terrible tackle, a dangerous one in the 90+4. No reason for it, but he also has no history of doing this kind of thing. So, but definitely had to note how bad that was. Real Sociedad 3 over Athletic Club. Sociedad now into 5th. Bringing up the bottom two tables squaring off, or bottom two teams in the table squaring off, Almeria and Granada, simply because of a ridiculous hat trick at the end of the half. Luis Suarez, no, not that Luis Suarez. Goal in the 41st, 44th, and 45th +1. Just an outrageously quick hat trick. I just thought that was too cool not to mention. Atletico Madrid 3-2 over Cadiz, the final one we're going to discuss or bring up. A rally from behind 2-0 at the half. Correa with 2 goals and the winner in the 66th. The Molina, the other to score. Jeremy, what tickles your fancy?
This is the Girona that, man, like I was really high on them. I thought they were gonna have a fighting chance. Possession 53-47 to Girona at home, but again, you mentioned the quality of this team, and it is such a deep squad you have in Madrid, and everyone just played a complete game. I thought Girona played well. I thought Girona was
They were close on shots. They were close
yeah.
on passes, pass accuracy. They just didn't have that shots on target they needed.
But what's been a recurring theme on this show, right? Real Madrid's midfield, Tchouameni and Bellingham get goals on the day. Yeah, Nacho, don't know what he's doing there. With a 3-0 lead already, like kind of dumb.
Just dumb.
Just yeah. And then we talk about a lot of teams that show resilience. Your team being one, and your other team, Madrid, Atletico Madrid, is another. I think this is just shows. It shows when you have experienced players and then you just been in these positions before. You try not to get down on yourself because sports is such a mental game. It's not a sport like a golf or like a bowling or like anything that's like really done by yourself. Like, you're with 10 other guys out there and they all have to be on the same page. And this is just an impressive result. Being down 2-1 at the half, getting to a quick one, and then Correa again, who's just been a stud. So props to Athletic. I thought this was a real important result for them and their campaign to stay up at the top.
So, comment on this one. One, I think that the formation that Real Madrid are currently playing really works for Jude. He's got 7 goals in 8 games as a Real Madrid player. But I think Rodrigo and Vinny as wingers being forced to play kind of as strikers is hurting them in terms of their production. So I don't know if there is a happy medium formation for them. I've just kind of been disappointed in Rodrigo and Vinny, and not in because they're not playing well, just because they're better out wide than I think they are centrally, as they've had to play a little more this season. I also had a fun fact from the Prem that I totally forgot to bring up earlier. Since the start of last season, only City has more points in the league than Aston Villa. That was something I totally forgot to bring up. It was a really cool stat, but worth bringing up even though I forgot earlier.
Jeez.
All right, let's go over to Germany. Leverkusen, top of the table. Hello, 3-0 over Mainz. Bayern 2-2 draw against RP. You weren't ready for that, were you? Bayern 2-2 against RP Leipzig. Bayern do save a point despite a 2-0 half deficit. Openda and Lukeba score for Leipzig. Kane, Penn, and Sane for Bayern. Jeremy, look away. Heidenheim 1, Union Berlin 0. Dortmund 3, Hoffenheim 1, and Stuttgart takes second place over Bayern 2-0 over Cologne. Jeremy, take it away.
Yeah, I've given up on Union Berlin. I'm just, I can't have two teams just, crap in the bed every day. So,
yeah,
I can't have two kids crap in the bed. One of them has to be, okay. Like I can have one kid. I can deal with one kid crap in the bed. I can't deal with two. I'm done with Union. I'm just gonna let them play out and just see what happens. I was really impressed with I know it's Bochum, but I think Mönchengladbach really needed a big result, and they got that in the form of this weekend because I think they're one of those teams that can flirt a little bit. To me, like I look at Stuttgart and I'm like, okay, like if Stuttgart can hang around at the top, I think Borussia Mönchengladbach can definitely can. I've always been
Union should too.
Yeah, Union should, right? But maybe we'll see what happens after the new year. But I don't know. It's going to be a longer climb for Mönchengladbach. They sit in 13th right now, and Union are in 11th. But you're in such an early part of the season where only so little points, are separated from, middle to low to mid to then high, 6, 7, 8. I think Union and Mönchengladbach do have the potential to finish in the top 8 this year. I don't know if it's going to be the case for one of those teams. I think one of them are going to disappoint me. So, but all in all, and that Bayern Leipzig game, I mean, what a classic. Like, hopefully this quality of play trends over into both their matchups. I mean, one team is playing a more difficult opponent than the other, but I don't know, this maybe a little bit of momentum for Leipzig going into this week's match with the mighty City, as people from England like to say. So
for sure. All right, let's pit stop in Italy here. Quick results: Napoli 4-0 over Lecce. Osimhen gets another. Milan 2-0 over Lazio. Christian Pulisic, the LeBron of soccer, finds the back of the net. Inter 4-0 over Salernitana. Hey, I said that right this time. Juventus 0-0 against Atalanta. Really boring game. I watched some of it, put me to sleep. Roma 2-0 over Frosinone. And Lukaku finds the back of the net. He's finding some form, so you do love to see that for Lukaku. Jeremy, what do you got?
I love that meme so much. I love Lukaku.
I do so.
Yeah, like I said this last week. I trust in Jose Mourinho. I really do. I just think like they're kind of falling into like a spell that like Man United has, where it's just like so many losses in such a little amount of time, where we have to remember that this season is just long. It's almost an entire year. So I don't think I'm going to hit the panic button on Jose just yet. I might be hitting it on Man U, but I don't know. We're going to hand out that. We're going to keep that to the side. Also, Osimhen, the man. I love when he gets a little fire under him. I think he's going to be just fine. I was kind of hoping that he can just kind of, if this kind of was the exit to kind of go to the Premier League, hopefully a team in red and black. Hello. But but it's good to see him scoring once again, putting all that nonsense aside of the TikTok, and everyone was talking about it. Almost every like major pundit was talking about this video. I know CBS did a whole like panel segment on it, but it's good to see him scoring because we know the quality striker that he is.
Absolutely. We will now we'll just kind of a standings update again. It is early.
But and shout out LeBron.
Good job for LeBron scoring.
Yeah, LeBron. I don't like that. Like
I don't like it either, but I also think it's hysterical.
It's funny, but this is also a big result for AC, just to kind of
100%. And they're not relying on layout to score, which is also big for them. Milan and Inter stay level at 18 points at the top there. Napoli, Juventus, Fiorentina level at 14 behind them for like 3 through 5th. League 1. Brest and Nice in the battle of first and second is a 0-0 draw. Didn't think we'd be saying that a few weeks ago, but here we are. Monaco does take the top now after a 3-2 win over Marseille. And then PSG nil, Clermont Foot nil. And my comments on this game literally just say LMAO. Because if you're PSG, this is inexcusable. Like, how is this the result you're gonna have against Clermont Foot ahead of a Champions League game? That is just terrible for the momentum they've started to build.
Also, did not notice this until now. Olympique Lyon sit at the very bottom of Ligue 1.
Yeah.
That is just wild to think of. No wins. They have no wins yet. You're looking at a team with quality like Lacazette, Tolisso. I forgot Ansley Maitland-Niles, the old Arsenal fullback is or I guess he's a winger, I guess. He used to play fullback or wingback or whatever. Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm looking at their team, like it's kind of
They've fallen off. They've fallen from
they
grace a little
have
bit.
actually. Yeah. So that's one of those stories where if a team like that gets promoted to League Deux, then lot of lost cabbage there, I guess you could say, Sam.
No, definitely. All right, that's enough time in France. I don't like talking about the
Yeah,
league
we spent a
anyways.
little too much time.
Yeah, even those was like a minute and a half. All right, we're also trying to include Netherlands and Portugal when there is a fixture of note. Nothing really going on in the Eredivisie, but over in Portugal, Benfica and Porto squared off at the weekend. Porto, unfortunately, a 19th minute red card for Cardoso, and then it was Angel Di Maria in the 68th minute, separating that one, getting the win, and Benfica victorious in that one thanks to Di Maria. It's tough to look at stats too because of the red card. Not everyone can play like Liverpool on a red card. So tough to like compare and contrast like how Porto actually played after the red because it was in the 19th minute. But credit to Benfica, big points for them. It gives them some momentum going into the Champions League. Any comment on that?
No, I've always been impressed with Benfica. One of my questions going into their season, in especially domestic play, because I think they have a little difficult road in Champions League, but especially in domestic play against teams like Sporting, Porto, Braga, was just where's their scoring going to come from? After the departure of Gonçalo Ramos. But I love that Di Maria is on a team where he is like the guy because I've always been a fan of Di Maria. His Man United tenure was a little disappointing to say the least, but I love him as a player. I think he's a fun player to watch, and I think he's fitting very well. Like I think I like that he was a player that didn't have to just sell out and go to Saudi Arabia, but he also kind of realized like I could still play in European football. I don't have to go to America just yet. Like I think Di Maria will be a great player in the States. I really do, because I just any player that plays for Argentina, plays with Messi, has already been on a big platform. And I think like a team, from, Florida, a team like, New York, New Jersey, California, one of the Texas teams even can really benefit from a star like Angel. So big props to Benfica. I hope to God they can catch Sporting eventually and win the League of Portugal.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get Grass and Gillette so the Revolution can actually bring in someone I want to watch too. All right, we kind of raced through that so we could have time to talk about the Champions League. I'm gonna write off the Tuesday fixtures. Jeremy, we can talk about those first. Then we'll go Wednesday, skim through a little Europa League, and then we'll give our predictions at the very end of the episode. Starting with Tuesday, Union Berlin versus Braga. If Union Berlin is gonna get 3 points, this is the one. Home against Braga. Salzburg versus Real Sociedad. Salzburg, the home team there. The first team I'm going to say, by the way, is just the home team, so I don't have to clarify each one. Inter versus Benfica. PSV Sevilla. Copenhagen versus Bayern. Manu Galatasaray. Napoli, Real Madrid. Hello. And then Lens, Arsenal. Jeremy,
Yes.
what stands out for you there?
Newcastle PSG. I love that match. That was one that you said, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, because the reason why I picked this one is because This
Oh no, I
is.
didn't say Newcastle PSG. I said Napoli Real Madrid. That was the big one from
Oh, are you looking at
Wednesday.
tomorrow's? I'm sorry. Am I
We're
jumping
starting
ahead?
with we're starting with Tuesday, and then we're
Okay,
going
we're
to
starting
Wednesday.
with Tuesday. Obviously my eyes are going to be on one game in particular. You know that. But Napoli Real Madrid, I think is going to be probably the game of the game of the week, or game of the match day, whatever, Tuesday. Um, I want to see what Osimhen does, especially in Champions League play. So we saw his response in domestic league. Now, if Osimhen scores a winner against Real Madrid in the Champions League, I want all of the Napoli social media team fired if they haven't been already, because he is world class. He is one of, if not, well, no, I still consider JJ Akacha to be the best Nigerian player, but he is one of the best Nigerian players of this generation. Might be the best player on Nigeria right now. This guy is world class, and I want him to just respond. And I believe they're home, correct? So
Napoli
they're
is home.
so yeah. So this is a really big opportunity. So what do you got?
I was just gonna say, so we have set aside 5 matches that we're gonna predict. Jeremy, make it 6. And while I'm talking over these Wednesday matches, prepare your prediction for the Napoli Real Madrid game because I completely forgot to include that. That's one we should
Okay,
give a
that's
prediction
that's
for.
fine. All right, we'll do
So
six.
let's
That's
make it
fine.
6 because
Yep,
there
yep,
is
yep.
6 because I think those are all 6 of the biggest matches that we kind of have set aside. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
roll with that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna start writing
so
mine down.
yeah, go ahead. You do that. I'm gonna briefly just say that I think PSV Sevilla is gonna be the underrated match of the day in terms of just
Inter
a watch.
Inter Benfica could be, but
I think that's just far and away like the second. I think
yeah,
that is number 2 to Napoli Real Madrid. But if you're looking to watch a team that you don't necessarily watch, PSV Sevilla could be fun. It could be a scrappy little game. Even Salzburg Real Sociedad might not be too bad. Sociedad's in good form in La Liga. And Salzburg's scrappy. They could put up a fight for sure. And then I'm obviously going to have an eye on Union Berlin just to see if they can figure something out at home versus
for
Braga.
the
Like,
love of Pete, like just
yeah,
one, just one. It starts with one. It
it
starts with
does.
one, then we snowball.
Does. But okay, Wednesday, which I think is the big day. Like there's a lot of really incredible matches on this Wednesday. Uh, Atletico Madrid Feyenoord is normally a really cool one, but it's kind of going to get overshadowed by some of these other matches. Antwerp Shakhtar, Young Boys Red Star Brigade, Dortmund Milan, Newcastle PSG. That Group F, never going to disappoint when we get to these games. Man City Leipzig, something you were alluding to a little bit earlier. Porto and Barca, and then a sneaky game that I'm actually kind of excited for, Celtic and Lazio. Jeremy, out of this Wednesday slate, we are going to predict a little bit later Porto, Barca, Man City, Leipzig, Newcastle, PSG, and Dortmund, Milan. When looking at Celtic, Lazio, Young Boys, Red Star, Antwerp, Shakhtar, Atletico, Feyenoord, what stands out about these matches? Why might you turn on one of these matches over the others?
Oh my god, when you got Celtic Park buzzing, and I'm crazy, but I like Celtic a lot in this matchup. I really do. They have to just play a more. They have to be disciplined. I think Brendan Rodgers. I think in their first game, a couple red cards here and there were just kind of like really held them back. So I really want. I like Brendan Rodgers as a manager. He's no Ange, but I do like him. I liked his first tenure at Celtic. I really did. I want Celtic to just play poise, and they need to play with poise for all 90 minutes. If they do, they can really attack you, and I favor Celtic. That's not the one that we have prediction or we're predicting. I favor Celtic heavily in that one. So that will be along with those two, the two that we're predicting are just absolute classics that can the potential to be classics. But I will be doing some channel surfing, and that will be one that I might keep my TV on for about a good 10-15. Oh, I think Sammy muted himself. There he is. Hold
I
on.
did mute myself briefly. I was
Okay.
putting in a cough drop. If I'm coughing, you guys don't need to hear it. Did want to just note, just quickly what each standing is after week one. Bayern 1, Copenhagen. Bayern's on 3 points. Copenhagen 1-1 with Galatasaray. Man United 0. Group B, Arsenal 3 points. Lens Sevilla on 1, PSV, no points in that group. Group C, Napoli and Real Madrid, both 3 points. So really highlights the importance of that one. Braga and Union Berlin, both 0. Group D, Salzburg actually tops that group. Inter 1, Sociedad 1, Benfica 0. Group E, Feyenoord on 3 points, and Atletico on 1, Lazio on 1, and Celtic on 0. So a big game for Celtic to potentially jump Lazio. Atletico trying to catch up to Feyenoord, so a big one there. Group F, PSG 3 points, Newcastle and Milan both 1, and then Dortmund 0. Group G, Leipzig and Man City both on 3 points. So again, this one's really big for the potential winner of Group G. Red Star and Young Boys both with 0. Barcelona and Porto, again, both 3 points squaring off. And then Shakhtar and Antwerp. So this is a really big match week in general for the potential winners of a lot of groups. Quickly, before we end up getting to those predictions, want to highlight what's going on in the Europa League. Some really cool matches. Sporting Atalanta is a cool one. West Ham Freiburg. I think the best one is Brighton Marseille, Villarreal Rennes, and then Liverpool Union Saint-Jean. So, Jeremy, any of those suit your fancy?
Yes. Brighton Marseille. I mean, that is going to be an absolute classic. I really want to see what De Zerbi does against a quality opponent. No disrespect. I mean, they did lose to Athens.
Hopefully, bouncing back.
Yeah, and I think they can do it right now. Like Marseille, this isn't the Marseille of old. That have really run the table here or there. Like I to me, I think every team in Ligue 1 is somewhat vulnerable. I really do. Like I think they could be caught on any given day. And maybe tomorrow, or maybe Thursday is that day for De Zerbi. I really do think so, and I really want to see Ansu Fati just on a bigger stage. He's going to come back to Barcelona, and he's going to be a better player than he was. Like I just all these reps in the Premier League, and I like it a lot. And I the fit is kind of strange to me, but hey, it looks like he's having fun. I mean, not last week, even though he scored, but like losing 6-1 is no fun. But I've been there. But yeah, that matchup just sounds like an absolute, dogfight.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Liverpool are just gonna. The reason I put that one isn't that Union Saint-Germain is a team of necessarily note for this competition, but I just think Liverpool are gonna come out with a vengeance and really potentially put up quite a few goals in that match just after kind of feeling screwed over the weekend. But all right, last thing before our predictions, just take a look at our fantasy recommendations. And I really wanted to include this because I finally predicted something that was slightly good. Your Ward Prowse wasn't bad. He had 4 points, 90 minutes, clean sheet, and got a bonus point for his performance. My shout for Odegaard, 1 goal, 2 assists, 1 clean sheet, 3 points of bonus, and the 90 minute point. So he ended up with 17 points in his fantasy week. So fine, he wasn't even in my lineup, so I should have listened to myself. But did want to bring that up because it ended up actually being a good shout, and I didn't even think Saka was going to play. So glad that worked out slightly in our favor. If you listen to me, you're welcome. But if you listen to our picks, I'm sorry. All right, Champions League prediction. Jeremy will go game by game. We're gonna start with Napoli, Real Madrid, and then go down the list here. Napoli, Real Madrid. I'm gonna go first. Napoli, the host, against Real Madrid. I do think Real Madrid, in general, it's just so hard to predict against them in European competitions. So I'm going to go Real Madrid 2, Napoli 1. I would like to give the shout there to Osimhen to be the one to bag a goal for Napoli. Bellingham seems inevitable for Real Madrid. But look out for Rodrigo or Vinny to hopefully get a little form rolling for them up front.
Well, Sammy, I won't spoil the rest of my predictions, but I don't know if you can see here, and it's terrible because it's right in the light. I have Napoli 1, Real Madrid 2. I have Victor scoring, but Real Madrid are just I'm a big fanboy of Los Blancos this year, even though,
especially in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. This is their competition, like Sevilla owns the Europa League. Real Madrid owns Champions League when they're in it. Even when they're like not doing so hot in La Liga, they always find a way to just contend and just really get the best of teams in this competition. So on the road, I think they're going to pick up 3 massive points. Give me Real Madrid 2-1 as well.
All right, Jeremy, give me your prediction first here for Inter and Benfica.
Inter Benfica. This is a close one. If this is being played in Lisbon, I would have probably predicted a little differently. However, I believe this is because I think
It's in
it's at the
Tina.
San Siro.
Yeah.
I'm going with same score line. I'm going to go 2-1 Inter. I think Inter are just another one of those balanced teams. They were finalists last year. We saw what they were capable of. I think this might be a little bit too much of a tougher competition or a tougher opponent for Benfica. I think they're going to flirt in this group, but against Inter, it might be tough. I can see them maybe scratching a draw when they go to Portugal, but at the San Siro, I can't bet against Inter Milan, so I'm gonna go 2-1 to Inter.
So in this one, I'm going for the same result in terms of Inter winning, but I actually have 2-0 in favor of Inter. I do think at home, again, if Benfica would have a different potential result, I probably would have gone draw if Benfica were at home. But I'm going to go here, Inter 2-0. And then I'll give my prediction here for Dortmund Milan. I think Group F, we'll give both of your Group Fs together. I'll do mine both together. I think they're both going to be draws. So I have,
no
yeah,
way. No
yeah.
way. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Keep
So
going.
you have that too for sure. Dortmund Milan 1-1, and then Newcastle PSG 2-2.
Oh,
Is it exact the same?
yeah,
Is it
it is.
exactly the same?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
To the T. Um, I'm not a huge fan of Dortmund this year, but Signal Iduna is, to me, it's one of the top 5 most toughest environments to play. And again, we saw the vulnerability this year in domestic play with AC Milan. I don't think they pick up a win here. It's a real tough place. So for the same reason, I'm going with a 1-1 draw. And then I think I want to be a fly on the wall for this game at St. James's Park against PSG. I'm not a huge Newcastle fan. It's an indirect rivalry just because we're two northern clubs, Manchester and Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of pulling for them here though, just because they're back in this competition. I'm hoping Alan Shearer has like a front row seat for this one. This is going to be a very fun game. And again,
2-2.
2-2. 2-2. After that, to, you're telling me if you're going to draw 0-0 to Claremont Foot, you are not. Oh man, you are not beating.
Doesn't give you some
Newcastle.
confidence. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't give
Yeah.
you confidence. And Newcastle being the host, I do think PSG are the better team. I just think PSG can't really have a whole lot of confidence after their most recent result. I think Newcastle at home have a little extra fight. They get that 2-2. I subtly think Newcastle are going to draw every game in this group.
They might.
Maybe. I'll probably change my opinions as we
6
get to it.
points.
But like looking at it now, I could see them 6 draws.
Hey,
Man
that
City,
might
it might be enough.
That might be
Might
a Europa
be-
League spot though.
Yeah,
At least
it might be. It might be. Next one, Man City versus RP Leipzig. Jeremy, what you got?
if you have the same result as me, I'm gonna cry. I'm going 3-1 Man City. I think they're so strong, and especially at home. Leipzig in a dogfight over the weekend against Bayern, but I think I think Man City are just too hot, and I think they're going to be hungry, especially after losing to at the Molineux. They're back home. They're not going to let anyone push them around. I'm going 3-1 to the Citizens.
So I'm gonna go 2-2.
Ooh,
In this
okay.
one, City have dropped 2 games in a row now, and although in a typical situation, if you're looking at a Pep-led team and you're thinking, "Wow, City dropped 2 games, they're gonna rebound for sure." I think the inconsistency of Rodri now not in the lineup because of that suspension and still not having Kevin De Bruyne, plus RB Leipzig having some confidence, grabbing that point against Bayern, and also winning their first match, they're going to have that extra motivation playing at home. I think this ends up being a draw, and picking 3 draws in a row is a little boring to me, but I don't care.
No,
So
you're trying
Leipzig
to
2,
predict.
Man City 2. That's what I'm gonna have to go with there. And then I'll go first for this last one: Porto versus Barca. Porto, the home team, but again, just as I feel with Real Madrid, I think both Barca and Real Madrid are just a little too strong in this
Say it,
competition
Sammy.
this year.
Say it, Sammy.
3 for Barca, 2 to Porto.
Ooh, okay. I have a 2-0 win for Barcelona.
I think Porto at home are gonna have more fight. I do.
Yeah, I'm not huge on Porto. I'm really not. I'm gonna go. I might actually pick 2 goal scorers here. Give me my Polish king, Leo, to get one. And I really like Yamal. Like, I really like this youngster for
Okay, let
Barcelona,
me
but I'm
pause
gonna
you
go
on
drop
that
Felix.
because I want Yamal to wait until their next La Liga match and score in that one, so he can be the youngest ever La Liga goal scorer.
Oh,
So don't waste your goal just yet,
okay, okay,
unless
fair enough. But
unless
no,
Barca need it.
I have Leo and Joao.
Okay, that's fair.
I have the Portuguese man scoring in Portugal.
So I don't necessarily know who all the goal scorers are, but I have a sneaky feeling Gundogan's going to get his name on the score sheet.
Ooh, I like that
He's been a
shout.
little quiet for Barca, so I feel like
He
he could end up on the score sheet.
his last game for City, or excuse me, his last game for City was the Champions League final, I
Ah,
believe. Yeah, but his second to last game, he single handedly won the FA Cup for Man City against United, and I respect him. He's older, and I got to see him, play for was it Dortmund? Yeah, he was such a big part of Dortmund's squad. But I always liked his look. Like, you always recognize that mustache and that hair anywhere. And he's just one of those box to box midfielders that is just a very, very reliable player and can score. He's not just a CDM. Like, he could be an 8. He's not a 10, but he'll get you a goal. His long shots are very impressive.
absolutely. So that'll round out. If you listen to this, fade us. You might make a lot of money. Um, last thing I'm going to say here is a James Madison quote. Not so Spursy. Something he said after Tottenham again finding a way to get 3 points. I love James Madison, and yeah, got to do it. All right, Jeremy, any final thoughts?
No. Sammy, it's a pleasure as always. To Man U and Union, please just make me happy, right? Like, hockey's around the corner. It's a great time. It's October. I love this month. It's such a fun month, right? We're a little ways away from like college basketball coming back. So I get a little happier when I get more sports to watch, talk about, write about. Just, can you guys help a brother out once in a while, please? Peace and love.
Yeah, and how about the Celtics, by the way? Big trade for them. Very,
Drew.
very excited for the NBA coming up.
Oh yeah.
That'll put a bow on it. We'll see you later in the week. Hopefully, I'm not battling this cold and or cough drops. But have a lovely rest of your week. Enjoy this batch week, and we'll see you later to preview what we have ahead at the weekend.